How's it going, everybody? I'm your host, the Carolina Collector. Before I begin, I want to say thank you so much to each and every single one of you for continuing to help this channel to grow. The channel does grow little by little each and every single day because of all of you, and I deeply appreciate it. To my fellow hobbyists out there, my friends, my neighbors, family, eBay customers, everyone across the board, thank you so much for your support. If you like what you see and you enjoy the content, and if you haven't done so already, I deeply appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, comment in the comments section below, and hit the bell to receive notifications. I do have an eBay store called the Carolina Collector 001. The link is in the description box below, where I'm selling loose sports cards and various other items from time to time. So thank you, everybody. I just noticed that I got a fingerprint or whatever that is on my reading glasses. Bear with me, folks. There's always something whenever I make my videos. That's going to stay in. I'm not fancy. You should all know that by now. There we go. All right, now I don't see spots. So I have to talk about this because I think that this is absolutely absurd and ridiculous. And I'm definitely going to need one of my typical sugar-free Red Bulls, not sponsored, by the way, because this is like irritating and annoying anymore. Hobbyists from far and wide, in particular in the sports card hobby, and Professor Sports Cards has been really roasting Geoff Wilson. We all know about Geoff Wilson. He is the lonely duck sitting out in a field of grass, and everybody's trying to target him. You know what I mean? I don't mean it that way to literally do it. I'm just saying, metaphorically speaking. He's put a bullseye on his back for a lot of hobbyists and collectors in the sports card hobby because of what he stands for. He is nothing more than a walking, talking sales pitch. He's a billboard. I mean, to me, he reminds me of Billy Mays, or that dude that used to sell the slap chop and the ShamWow. I forgot what his name is, but that's all he is. Everything is a sales pitch. At least I acknowledge my audience. At least I acknowledge my eBay customers, And I talk about serious issues here on the channel that many of you can relate to. Here, look what I just went through, this nightmare I had to go through with my ex-girlfriend being falsely accused of things and having the charges dropped and all of that sort of thing. And people took my mug shots and put them out there without anybody coming to the source and asking, hey, what happened? And here I am still going. If I did anything wrong, I'd be locked up for a long time. And it's not the first time it's happened to me, We all go through all sorts of crazy stuff, and I've been acquitted again and again and again and again. And there are people out there that just don't like that. Whoops. Too bad. But, I talk about the United States Postal Service and how bad they suck. I've got my feelings about Transformers toys and collectibles and how fans sometimes go just a little too far, especially grown men. Again, I mentioned my Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime. You got the shoulders move. Cancel Hasbro. You're a grown man. It's a fucking toy. Stop that. You know what I mean? I'm like spitting all over the place. That's staying in too. You know what I mean? It gets to the point of absurdity. This whole thing is ridiculous, watching what grown men do on camera. And to me, Geoff Wilson is nothing more than a walking, talking billboard. He's a sales pitch. And ever since this national took place, he treats everything like it's for sale. I mean, if this dude can sell this Scotch tape, he probably would. If he can sell this stapler, he probably could. And it's a bad look for the hobby because there are people that are out here, myself included. Hey, listen, I'm saying this as an LLC. I sell baseball cards once in a while, I mean, I'm not making $1 million. What did I make in the last 90 days? $3,000? That's all I made. I'm not making $1 million. I have no intention to. If I happen to get bigger, I try to keep things humble and, grounded and, all that kind of thing, man. I work well with my customers. If something goes wrong, I try my best to make them happy. I've gone to the gusto. Many of you who've bought my sports cards off of me, if there are problems, I try to work on it ASAP. I try to replace cards. I'll refund you. Of course, you got a lot of con artists and scam artists that are out there that do card swapping. They do the old-fashioned chargeback scam and all that kind of stuff. And, I've learned to sort through all of that stuff. But, I try to treat my customers well. I was giving away free cards for a little bit. To my real dedicated customers, I still give away free cards depending on the size of the order and all that kind of stuff. I try to offer discounts. If I see people are watching my cards, I'll send out a 10% offer on that particular card or cards. And, I try to work with my customers, man. I'm not trying to treat people like they're a fucking paycheck. And that's the problem that I think a lot of card collectors in this hobby have with Mr. Geoff Wilson there, is that he treats people like they're a paycheck. You are his paycheck. And it's a bad look for all of us, because it makes a lot of card collectors look, slarmy and scummy. I usually make fun of people like this that wear the wife beater t-shirts, that have a bald head with long white hair down to their shoulders, smoking Marlboro cigarettes with broken brown teeth at the gum line and all that kind of stuff. They buy my sports cards, $100,000 for that Barry Bonds, right? It's all bullshit. You know the types, you know the kinds, you know what I mean? It makes us look like that, and that's really not true. Again, I'm not big time. I'm not trying to claim I'm big time. I'm nobody in a card hobby sphere. Even when it comes to selling sports cards, I'm still a nobody. I've only been doing this for a little bit more than a year at this point. Even now, there's a piece of paper sitting over there from the state of New York that I have to take care of now and hire an attorney to fight this latest bullshit off, because, well, New York State, they want their handouts because they want to feed and give money to the it, what, who, pronoun, fat, black, trans, child touching, guilty, white, liberal, bull ring in the nose, fish hooks in the cheek types. And they want the horse to pull the wagon. And this horse basically wants to run free through the field. So now I have to fight them off with this latest bullshit that's happened. I'm just like the rest of you, man. I go through all sorts of crap, and I talk about all sorts of issues here. He's just not relatable. Every fucking thing that he does is a sales pitch to make money. All right, let's get one thing straight here. And I hope Mr. Geoff Wilson is watching. All right. This is a hobby. It's not a necessity. All right. We can't eat sports cards. Sports cards, all right, can't pay for the electric bill. Sports cards, for a lot of us, can't pay for the rent. It can't pay for gas in our car. It can't feed our families, all right? They're just fucking sports cards. I mean, for me, it got me off of food stamps. I'm honest about that. Last year, I took the food stamp or EBT card, put it in an envelope, pay back the county what I owed them. It was like $3,200 or whatever it was, and got myself off of food stamps. And this has helped to supplement my income because of the nature of my income. I've told you about, what I experienced in that wonderful year of 2001 for the first 5 days after it happened, shuffling around after, anti-Semitic people in flying objects flew their airplanes into these two look-alike buildings. You know what I'm talking about here. I don't have to remind you of that if you've watched the channel. And I've had to suffer the fallout of that ever since. And I'm still paying the price for that to this day. But at least I'm straightforward with it. Like people putting my fucking mug shots out there. You know what? Here I am. I've already said it. My ex-girlfriend accused me of things that never happened and filed false police reports, and I was acquitted. Just like last year, I was assaulted in the pool. No matter what the news articles looked like, they didn't include the facts. Oh, he was drunk and all this and all that. Yeah, but they claimed I had a firearm and was doing inappropriate things in the pool when it never happened. And of course, the charges were dropped. I would have done a lengthy jail sentence or paid fines and all that stuff. And just like with this most recent issue, it never happened. You can't believe everything you see and hear on the internet. And if you get sold by this bullshit, well, you're just as fucking dumb from a different direction. I mean, it is what it is. Listen, Geoff Wilson probably wakes up and, his ding-dong probably points in the wrong direction. He wakes up just as, all fluffed up as the rest of us do and probably misses the rim of the bowl. I mean, listen, we're all human beings, man. We're all capable of making mistakes. We're all capable of doing stupid shit. But him, he's like an automaton. A walking sales pitch, and it's insulting to a lot of people because people can't afford. And you see the numbers that he talks about, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. He opened up this rack pack of baseball cards recently, which a lot of people, man, did they shit on him. He also he's been cracking open slabs with packs in them, and people have been losing their shit. Somebody like Steve MRE, he does that. That's a very niche hobby, getting into MREs, eating old school MREs. And they're very few and far between. But, he goes into like a real in-depth analysis of that. And he saves a lot of the things, because it's history. It's fucking history. You know what I mean? But at least Steve MRE knows what he's talking about. Geoff mispronouncing names, cutting open rare packs and rare collections of wax and all that sort of thing. It's absurd and ridiculous. How many of you raise your hand if you can afford thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for the shit that he gloats about online? I only have a very few slabs. You've seen them here on the channel. I talk about this all the time. I'm lucky to have maybe the 2 or 3 dozen slabs that I got, and the card collection that I currently have, along with my Transformers and sneakers, jerseys, hats. I'm blessed to have all that kind of stuff. And I try not to be that kind of asshole to rub it in people's face. As someone who was homeless, I'm grateful to even have a shirt on my back. It just happens to be that, over the past 2 years, I've been able to afford this kind of stuff. And I've given away, even today, I gave away a couple chairs from my patio to one of my neighbors because he had broken chairs on his particular patio. So I gave it to him for nothing. I've given away jerseys, hats, sneakers without asking anybody for anything, because that's the kind of guy I am, because I appreciate the almighty dollar. Yes, unfortunately, with capitalism, sometimes, some people are going to make it, some people are not. It all depends on what you do with what you got. And at this point in time, I'm quite fortunate having the things that I have. And if I can give something away for nothing, as a matter of fact, I think I talked about this here on the channel. You'll actually see there's the paperwork from New York State right there I was telling you about. It's no joke. I actually threw it on my couch out of frustration. Those are 3 boxes of 2024 flagship. Those are all base cards. I have plans to give those cards away to the kids here in the neighborhood, because I don't want to throw them cards out. Might as well just give them away to kids. If I can't sell them, give them away. Why not? I can do that. I got that power to. And those aren't the only boxes like that I got as far as base cards are concerned. But when it comes to a young kid getting baseball cards or anything like that, they're kids. Of course, they're going to get excited. You learn to appreciate things a lot more. And I think a lot of hobbyists that are out there are absolutely insulted by the fact that this man treats everything like it's for sale. Not everything is for sale. Sometimes things have sentimental value. For example, like I talked about, and I always bring him on camera because he's by far one of my most favorite Optimus Primes in my collection. I wish I had this as a kid. That's my Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime that I upgraded. By far one of the best Optimus Primes in his class that is available right now. And I appreciate having him. It reminds me of my childhood. It reminds me of, the innocence of just being a little kid posing this thing. You know what I mean? And it's not an object of profit. It's just it's a piece of plastic. He's a piece of plastic. But you got people out there that buy up this kind of stuff to resell it for 2 or 3 times what it's worth. And I am an eBay reseller, and I try to be reasonable with my stuff. I did kind of get into a little back and forth recently with somebody on eBay because they were trying to buy a set of pins off me that I just wasn't willing to come down on their price, because I know what I paid for them when I had them, when I was originally wearing these pins. I'm a former Freemason. But because, a lot of them, especially in the lodge I used to come from, support socialism and all that kind of stuff, and violated their own fucking oath to support and defend the laws of this country. And of course they won't support one of their own because, I'm an innocent man across the board. But some of these people think that they're self-righteous and better than you because of self-rewarding pageantry. But then meanwhile, God punished them with a kid that's severely disabled. But we're not going to get into that because they're awful people. And Geoff is one of these awful people that's nothing more than a self-promoting automaton. Look at me, buy these things, make me money. And that's what pisses off a lot of us. At least with me, I'm straightforward and I'm honest with my customers, and every so often I'll give away some stuff, to customers that order quite a bit. I was giving away cards for a while, but, it's just with him. Everything is about the almighty dollar. It's nice to make money. I love making money too, but I'm not making a ton of money. This is meant to supplement my current income. I'm on a fixed income because of what I fought for in the courts, and because of what I did at that wonderful 2001 event in my former home of communist, fascist, socialist, who pronoun New York City. Of course, where now anti-Semitism runs rampant, but who am I? You know what I mean? But with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, at least I try to be relatable. I go through problems just like all of you. I go through headaches. I go through all of these personal issues, and at the end of the day, when I pick up that Optimus Prime, if I wear a retro jersey like I'm wearing right now, if I finger through my baseball cards or what have you, or if I go take a walk and I'm wearing Jordans or something like that, it kind of takes me out of it. I look down at my feet, I'm like, man, I remember what it was like to be a kid when guys wore these. Even though there were certain Jordans I didn't have, at least it takes me out. of thinking about, the stresses of adulthood. And he's completely skewed all of that. It's ridiculous, it's stupid, and quite frankly, in my opinion, it's fraudulent. It's fraudulent to treat any hobby like it's for profit. Look what happened last year with the Paul Skeens 1-of-1 patch auto. Everybody was losing their collective shit. Scalpers and LCSs and people that are not collectors were scooping up Topps Chrome last year and are still sitting on boxes of Topps Chrome. Have you gone onto the shop app and seen how much a lot of these assholes are charging for a box of Topps Chrome? It's ridiculous. It's absurd. It's because people like him promote this kind of stuff. And as you see this in the Pokemon TCG space, I think Pokemon right now is probably the worst collecting space to be involved with right now, because look what happens over at Costco's. People are getting into fistfights when new product comes out. Where grown men are clearing shelves in front of, little kids. It's a bad look. And this is the type of stuff. This stuff is a result of people like Geoff Wilson. He is he's not just a symptom, he is the cause of why scalping goes on, why card prices are outrageous. As a matter of fact, on my community page, I'm fresh out of Shohei Ohtani's from 2023, Topps Chrome Lids, Mitchell and Ness cards. I have 2 left from the base set, and I have 2 complete sets. Those cards are only going for what, maybe $8, $10, something like that. I forgot how much I was selling them for, based on what I see other sellers selling theirs for. One seller actually sent me an offer for $99 for 1 raw. And meanwhile, I have his 9.5 red out of 5 from that set. You really think I'm going to buy a base card like that for $99 when I've sold how many dozens of them? It's because people like Geoff Wilson promote this shit. And they massage this shit. And as a result, people that want these cards can't get them. When I list my baseball cards on eBay, I try to comp them at certain prices to make it affordable for people. I try to come on the low end of the comp that I see when I price out my cards. I'm not out to make $1 million. Like I said, I'm lucky I get the money I get, and I'm grateful to my customers. At least I acknowledge you folks. He doesn't. Everything's, buy this and that patch 1-of-1 auto and this and that. And he's just constantly promoting. And it's shameless. And that's what makes this hobby look awful. Avoid people like this at all costs. If you can't even say, thank you, I appreciate you, not worth it, folks. He's just a talking head. He is a walking, talking sales pitch. Avoid at all costs. I'm your host, the Carolina Collector. Have a good evening.